Hello, and welcome back to Mahopac Public Library's
Blooper reel.
Popcast is what we're going with because we're having a hard time talking today.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of our fantasy series, and today is my pick, George Miller's 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a story about Tilda Swinton, who plays a narratologist. She studies stories, and her meeting with a djinn, played by Idris Elba, who has quite a long history. So yeah, I guess let's just do, initial thoughts.
Also has a very sexy voice. I'm just throwing it out
loved
there.
this.
Both of their voices were so good. I loved her accent.
I was just going to say her
Yeah.
accent was outstanding. Yeah.
I loved this movie because I was telling Lou my plan was to go home, watch half of it, and finish it later. And I devoured the entire movie, and I didn't even realize it because I was so engrossed.
I know, this moved really quickly. Like,
It
for
really
a movie
does,
that's
yeah.
two people telling stories to each other for most of the runtime, like, it really is
It worked.
propulsive.
It was great. I really loved learning about his stories, but also, like, you have these historic figures, too, that he's like, oh, yeah, I used to be with Sheba. And you're like, wait, what?
Like, I've heard of that person.
Hold
before.
on.
I loved when he was like, no. Solomon came to her.
I
Let's
was
get
there.
this right.
I loved that.
Yeah, that was probably, like, my favorite line of the whole thing. Just because
Yeah.
it's, like, sticks it to those history people that think they know everything.
Yeah. I mean,
Katie.
Yeah. I'm a historian, but I'm one of those people that is like, were they really roommates? Come on, guys.
Yes, they were.
I will say, I found Sheba shaving her legs to be so tragic here.
Yeah.
Because Jinn usually seem to have something going on with their legs that sort of
Yes.
indicate their supernatural.
Which I
origin.
liked that.
I did like that, but yeah, and some of them have long, beautiful hair on their legs, and Sheba has that, and
Waxy.
she shaves it all off when Solomon woos her, and it's like very sad.
Yeah.
Though, can we talk about Solomon's instrument?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It was like sentient,
That
but
was
also it was
amazing.
very trippy.
Yeah, at first I was just like, okay, he's playing this, and he kind of sucks at it, and then all of a sudden it like comes alive and begins playing
know.
itself, and
Also, he was bleeding.
Now, so that's what I thought made it come alive.
Was the blood.
his blood.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
That's interesting.
Yeah, 'cause
It
only
wasn't
one finger is bleeding.
Yeah, so it's just like a little prick.
Yeah. So I
Oh.
wonder if it's.
So it was almost like I thought it was intentional. Like at first I thought, this guy sucks too.
Yeah.
And then once he like restrings it like with no issues, and then the things come to life and start playing other things, I'm like, oh, that was his blood doing that. Like,
Oh, I thought it was supposed to. I thought it was always love. I didn't even realize it. I thought it was supposed to be like a I can't think of the word. Basically, like, because of the fact that he's the one that causes the rift between Sheba and the Jinn character, that the blood was supposed to be like sacrificial, like. That's not the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it. That is supposed to be an indication of the bad things that are coming. The fact that he spilled his own blood. I didn't think of it as actually.
I think that's also an interesting
Yeah.
view. I think these are simpatico. Like,
Oh, okay, all right. Because like I couldn't articulate
yeah.
that.
And also from what we saw from Solomon, I don't think that anything was accidental.
No.
yeah,
Very
he was
deliberate.
really cunning.
Yeah.
You look like a hippie too,
Yeah.
or was
Yeah.
that like?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody looked so crazy and so good in this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Like Sheba, whoa.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. I loved her skin was so beautiful,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
liked
she
that no matter
won-
what it was gilded.
An Africa's Top Model
I
competition.
can
Yes.
see why.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
that I
of
could
models
see.
were cast in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, she is gorgeous. I
Yes,
loved everything
she was
about her,
very
and I loved the outfit. And I was watching behind the scenes that like part of her dress, like the costume designer was going for the fact that if she conquered Vikings, she used their hair to make her dress.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so
Crazy.
badass.
Yeah. It was interesting, like, and
I love
the
how
different
much
color
thought went
schemes.
into it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
even how each period had to have a distinct color scheme.
And like just like
appreciated
the
that.
different aesthetics throughout the periods.
Yes.
Like I don't know,
Yeah.
there's like a real interest in like, okay, like how did Middle Eastern aesthetics look at this point in time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just the animal people hanging around with
yeah.
Sheba because
Yeah.
like it's going off with like hieroglyphics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like that's so
it's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that aesthetic was my favorite. I really appreciated that one. But I did like the second story, too, with Mustafa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that stuff was my favorite stuff. Obviously that's a big chunk of the movie are the Jin's retellings of those things, but that second one was the hand is sticking out to me. The hand coming out.
Oh God, no, that's the third one.
Yeah.
No, the third one's Zephyr.
No, well,
Zephyr.
Sheba doesn't have like the title card for whatever reason. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
she's just like his backstory.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
And then
it's
Mustafa.
Mustafa and the slave girl whose name escapes me.
Yes. Gultan?
Yes, Gultan.
Yeah.
And
Who
then
I felt so bad for.
Yes. I know, because he's
Although-
like, just make the wish and save yourself. And she's like, she's in grief. She's in denial. She's freaking out, so she's not thinking clearly.
Ken,
and then
I
she
wanted-
and her baby die.
I wanted to talk about when is Mustafa his name is? When
prince?
when his father gifts him. I didn't realize they were spurs at first. My mind went a different direction because the fact that the king's wife, I'm going to try to explain what direction my mind was going in. Because when you learn that the king's favored concubine, who is also an historical figure, she was of German descent, is pitting him against his son, essentially, trying to protect her own interests and the interests of her kids. The father gifts him the spurs. Now, at first, I didn't realize what those were, and I thought it was like an instrument of torture. Because, oh my God! So the slave girl wants to go with this guy. This guy is crazy, and he's like into weird stuff. So that's where my mind went with that.
See a lot.
And then when you see when the father kills him, how the spurs almost dig his own grave because they plant him into the ground so he can't move. And I thought that was so beautifully done, how the gift became
all of
twisted.
that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like in the Jin's narration, he talks about like he cries out for his loyal guard, but his voice is severed. Like
By his father's bowstring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's beautifully told. It's because it's a story, and
Yeah.
I love how just like the imagery is,
and just like how conscious they both are of stories.
Yeah.
And like I think making this a narratologist just works.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's phenomenal. I
and-
love it.
I did get a little kick out of in the beginning when she's at the conference and you
Yes.
see like the Justice League behind her. Because
Yeah.
George
Oh my
Miller famously had a big planned Justice League movie that never came together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some really cool like shots of like costume effects for Martian Manhunter for it. Highly
really?
recommend checking
Oh,
it
okay.
out. But yeah, so I was like, that's a cute little
That's
nod.
cute. Yeah.
I loved when she's having the conference and you see like that entity or that deity.
He's
that's
another
there.
Jin.
Yeah. What I like, what she says is how stories give power to things and how myths become legends, legends become stories, and how we develop new gods. So they talk about the superhero characters. And almost like if stories aren't told, these things get forgotten. And I like how the Jin that's staring at her, he's getting angrier and angrier because she's saying basically that you've lost your relevancy. And that's when I think, doesn't he shout no? And
Rubbish.
Like, yeah.
Rubbish. Yeah.
So basically, like, I like that because it's very true. Because, like, how many, like, stories probably do we not know because whoever knew them stopped telling them?
Yeah.
And the power of stories, the power of narration, I really like that. Because you see it even in cultures where if you don't have a written language and the older storytellers
Oral
died,
histories, yeah.
everything is gone. So even thinking about histories that we probably don't even know about because no one wrote it down or, so it was I liked that moment and I liked how that Jin is the one that basically says, like, I like this nonsense and like he charges towards her and how he gets angrier and angrier as she's speaking because she's essentially calling him you're irrelevant.
And
So I like that.
too, like we see it on like that like macro historical level.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
these cultural traditions are gradually eroded and lost.
Yeah.
And then we see it on like a very like micro level with like Enzo, her imaginary friend.
Yeah.
She burns all the records about him. And a little line I liked there a lot was when she was like, the more realism I began to insert, the more I began to doubt. And
Yeah.
like I like that too, of just like, oh, like if you keep something totally fantastical, like it's easier to buy into than like
Yeah.
Trying to ground it in reality.
yeah.
Really, the script for this was great, but I think their performances were incredible. I really just, the imagery that they were able to weave was my favorite, though, because it did suck you in.
Yeah.
Like with Mustafa and his storyteller, where that's what kept him from being violent.
Yeah, I like that sort of like riff on like 1001 Nights.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's an old man. Yeah, I loved that because the movie does the same for you, where it keeps you enraptured.
Yeah. Lou and I were talking a little before about Lou. Do you want to talk about how your suspicions?
Oh, yeah. So
Mustafa?
I was saying that I really I liked everything about the movie, but there's part of me that's curious about how the story could have been if he actually was tricking her. And if he like I was very much like this isn't going to end well for her for most of it. I think I was just as suspicious as she was, I guess.
Yeah, and like I think it does a good job on keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is he a trickster Jin? Like, is I'm just a fool and who fell in love at the wrong times? Like,
yeah.
Just like a fake thing. So it's not Mustafa that's the violent one. What is his name?
Murad.
Murad. Thank you.
And his brother Ibrahim.
Yeah, I know Ibrahim.
Oh, we all know Ibrahim with his nice goopy hand.
Oh, and Sugar Lump is also based on an actual female ruler.
Yeah.
Because
Was she good as a ruler? Because
I
I want to root for her.
I don't know, but like
also wanna
I
root for
read
her.
like a little blurb how the man basically loved plus size women, so he sent out his advisors to find a plus size woman, and they found her. I don't remember what her actual name. Her name obviously wasn't Sugar Lump, but she was blonde. She was Armenian. And yeah, she loved to wear beautiful clothing, and I think she was his favorite.
Yeah.
And I think she did advise him in many things. So it was interesting that she's based on an actual
Yeah,
figure.
and that was one of the things that we were talking about too. Was like we really liked how it was grounded in
History.
actual history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I really appreciated that, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not a medievalist, but I like learning. Some of it does take place in early modern times.
And I
but-
also thought too, like, also going back to his mom locking him in the fur-lined room or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah, like the fur
Where is this
lining.
going?
I even liked how Tilda Swinton was like, that doesn't sound like a bad prison. Like,
Yeah.
whatever she says.
Just like fur lined. It'd be so sweaty.
I was thinking that
Well,
the whole
that's-
time. I was like, how
honestly,
smelly is it in there?
the entire aesthetic of that is kind of icky
yeah.
because it is fur lined. You know it smells in there.
And let me be
Everyone's so sweaty and
clear.
gross.
Let me just be clear. It's not because they're larger people. It's
No,
if
they're
any
locked in a room.
if any
a fur lined
exactly.
room.
If any large amount of people are in a room doing
There's
what they're
perfume and
doing,
incense.
it's going to smell disgusting.
Yeah, because there's no showering or anything. They're just stuck in this room. Like, they don't leave.
Yeah, and there's food in there. Oh.
The goopy hand is really what did it for me.
I know, like, I don't
His mom was so chill about it, though. I was
Yeah,
like,
oh,
God,
when
you got
she-
a high tolerance.
When she kisses his hand, oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's a lot like visually in common between this and Mad Max, but that was one moment where you're like, oh yeah, this guy makes Mad Max.
Speaking of that, there were I don't think I've ever seen another George Miller film other than the Mad Max movies.
Have you seen Happy Feet?
I have seen
have seen
Happy
Happy
Feet.
Yes, that's him.
I mean, that movie has some great one-liners. It does.
And Babe too, Big Pig in the City.
I have seen that
Yeah.
actually.
Oh,
He's got a weird career.
Interesting.
yeah.
But I guess he's got to bankroll Mad Max somehow, right? But in the next story with Zafir and again whoever that guy is to her.
Yeah, her like husband.
Her husband.
but
Is it
yeah,
the husband?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
bought her though.
Yeah.
Like, husband is a very charitable description.
Yes.
When he dies and like his eyes like kind of like collapse in on themselves, I was like I got real Mad Max vibes there.
Yeah.
Um,
I did think it was funny that like her experiencing gin sex made her break
Yeah.
his mind.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. Yeah. But I liked Zafir, but also she was so tragic because she wants all of this knowledge and she's incredible, and he compares her to Da Vinci. But she can never do anything with any of that because
and,
she's
like,
a woman.
Yeah, and like literally the fabric of the universe has opened itself up to her. Like, and she, she can't tell anybody. She can't do anything with it. And,
She's just stuck in her attic.
yeah, and then just the I wish I never remembered you.
Yeah.
It's just things that you say in the heat of an argument that you don't mean.
Yeah. And because he right before that he like kind of blows up at Tilda Swinton saying like don't say that. Yeah, man. Because then you just end up in a bottle for
Ever.
1,500 years or whatever it was.
He was only in the bottle for 200 years after that, but that's so sad. Because that's my favorite Greek god is Apollo. And I love him for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons that I love him is because he's so tragic. Because no one ever loves him back, right? He's constantly falling in love, and there's very few instances where someone loves him back. And that's the same vibe I got from this gin, where he's falling in love with these people, but they don't ever love him back in the same way.
Yeah, the absolute cosmic loneliness of it, and like when he describes like what did I do when I was in a bottle for 2,500 years? It's like, for the first few hundred years I beg and I plead. Then I relive my memories. Then I play a trick on myself and I say, please keep me in the bottle.
Yeah. Which of course doesn't work. Because she's like, did that actually work? She's like, no, of course not.
and Hilda's like very ordinary loneliness is in perfect synchronicity with it too. And like I don't know, the way this treads like both the cosmic and supernatural and the totally ordinary is very beautiful to me.
It is. I really loved it. I was telling you, that's one of the things that I loved about it. And I like where she has this existential moment once they're like, after she's made her first wish later on, where she's like, I don't actually know if you want to love me because I've wished for this. And I like the moment before she does, where she's like, is this something you would want too?
Yeah, like she's
asks,
very upset, and she's like, is this too much? Like,
yeah. But that's all he's ever wanted too. And I just found it really beautiful and bittersweet, because they are such lonely people and they're able to find happiness together, but it's doomed is what you're assuming, because he's not mortal. He's gonna live forever and she's going to die.
But at least like I thought it was a pretty happy ending though. At least because it's like she makes that third wish, so he's essentially free
and can do as he pleases.
And he chooses to come and visit her
as often as he can.
Yeah, and it far longer than he should too.
Yeah. I love, because we learn that if he stays too long, he starts to literally disintegrate,
which was amazing.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
The sound design for it, that electric hum, and just like the little snatches of radio waves,
like electromagnetic. And
yeah,
that's so cool.
That's taken almost directly from the Quran of like jinn being made of subtle fire. So like I
really love that.
I think taking it and making it into like electromagnetic waves is such a
really
cool interpretation of that. And like I like when he plucks Albert Einstein from the TV.
I know.
And Einstein has like a meltdown.
I love that.
And he's like, "Do you want to talk to him?" She's like, "No, put him back."
And I love how he's like, "Is that a wish?" And she's like, "No, you have to. It's your responsibility. Put him back."
Did anyone else want to try the food? Like
yes,
yeah.
Sure. Like that's what I was thinking. That scene, like someone eat. Because, like, I hate when there's, like, a full... And I understand you do a lot of takes. You're not going to eat everything. But, like, when I saw the tea and the food,
Do we know what that snack was? That was curry, chickpea, and pistachio?
I think that's all it is. Chickpeas, cloves, and pistachio.
Oh, that's what it is. It's cloves.
I really need to try that.
Yeah.
I need to,
I know. That really sounded delicious.
Yeah.
just
I like
like-
that she brings it to their bigot neighbors and is
Yeah.
like, this is my hot boyfriend. He's going to be living here with me from now on.
Yeah, they were like pretty enamored. They were like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Idris Elba.
So you just-
Yeah, I know.
of course you're gonna be. Yeah.
Be shocked if you wouldn't be. Like, I love that
I thought
man's
he was
voice.
a good choice for this, honestly.
He was great. It was really nice to see him in something where he's not a villain.
No, and,
you know?
and he was able to be like a little whimsical.
Yeah.
I love
I
when they're
really like
speaking Greek and she's, I took a little bit in college, and they're having a full-on conversation. And it was like,
Well, she's a narratologist, though. Like,
Yeah.
that's...
Yeah, and I like how she cycles through languages until
Yeah.
she gets to that, and he's like, "Oh, you speak the Greek of Plato."
Yeah. That was really cool. There's so many aspects of this movie that I loved, and I never would have seen it unless you suggested it, so thanks, Joe.
Yeah, same.
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, I honestly I did not see this before this episode. I picked it because I was like, oh, I need to find a fantasy movie, and I had just seen Furiosa, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he did one.
This must have been a movie that was kind of like lost in COVID.
Yeah, it came
So it
out
was
2022,
2022.
so
Yeah.
it was like right when theaters started to open back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if by all accounts, it seems like it got very good reviews.
I would have seen it had I known about it, but it
Yeah.
did get, like, lost there.
Yeah.
Because I like Tilda Swinton a lot,
Yeah.
and I like Idris Elba.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I never would have paired them together, though, and I
Yeah.
think it works.
Yeah, they both are great. I was gonna say with Tilda Swinton, I was saying, other than Chronicles of Narnia and Michael Clayton, like this is the first time I've really seen her in a
in something?
leading role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked her in Only Lovers Left Alive.
I desperately need to see that.
And what was the other movies? Oh, I'm sorry. go ahead.
It's fine. You can keep going. She's in Doctor Strange too, which
that's right.
That's a whole can of worms I'm not going to talk
Forgot
about.
about
But I love her in Constantine
Oh, yeah, she's
because
great.
that movie's not great,
Yeah.
and we are going to be watching that later on for the podcast. But
Stay tuned.
one of my favorite things about Tilda Swinton is she's not afraid to like lean into her looks and how like she's very clearly like those are her pronouns, she, her, but I like that she leans into non-binary and gender fluidity with her roles and her acting choices, and with Gabriel
Yeah.
because she plays an archangel. Phenomenal.
Have you ever seen the Bowie video she's in, where she is Bowie?
Yeah.
It's really
Oh, yeah.
cool. Yeah. But yeah, she's in a bunch of Wes Anderson's movies, usually in smaller
Yeah.
roles, but she's always very funny in them.
She's also in, I think it's called Snowpiercer.
Yes.
Yes,
The movie
she
that
is.
did
Yeah,
this.
she works with Bong Joon-ho a fair amount.
Yeah.
Because she was
Yeah.
in Okja too.
Oh, yeah. I still haven't seen that, but I want to
Yeah,
see
she's
that one.
a phenomenal actress.
She was in a film by Apichat Weerstakel, an amazing Thai filmmaker, a few years ago called Memoria. Highly recommend it. One of the coolest movies I've
Yeah.
ever seen. I adore it. Like, be aware, it's like an art house movie. It's very slow, but I think it's like the most amazing thing. The premise of it is she is in Argentina, and she hears a weird big sound in the middle of the night, and she's trying to figure out what it was.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Something she would definitely be in. But I liked her in this, where she's just like this quiet woman who doesn't have anyone or anything. She doesn't even have pets. And she looks adorable with her little bob and her clothes. I love her whole aesthetic.
I liked
She's
her glasses. They were fun.
Yeah.
I like that she changed them.
Yeah.
while she was
Yeah.
sitting there.
Yeah, she's got readers too.
Yeah. She's just such a precious character.
Yeah.
But I also like how she's a realist and almost pessimistic about that. And I think it plays really well with literally being with a djinn. That is fantastical, and magic is real,
Yeah.
and she's always been able to detect it somehow. That's why I was wondering if they were going to be like, maybe she is a djinn in her lineage.
Yeah, like
That's-
that's sort of just left unclear, but
Yeah.
like I could definitely see it
that,
because like
yeah.
he mentioned like
And
yeah,
also,
like there are humans.
There's, I'm not sure if you're going to mention this.
Though
there's
then
a
again, the Jinn
scene-
offspring cannot.
That's true.
reproduce. Yeah.
There's a scene with Zafir where she's
bouncing
her
her
leg
leg in
the same way
that
Tilda Swinton does.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, is she a descendant?
That's yeah.
Yeah, I thought because the way she's bouncing her leg.
Interesting.
Because
I didn't
maybe
put that together.
it isn't true and not all of the Jinn offspring are sterile. Maybe she somehow figures it out. I don't know. It's magic.
I also liked whoever, if that's Tilda Swinton's handwriting when you're looking at the book that she's creating. Did anyone else love the handwriting in that book?
It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, is that hers? It was just such beautiful handwriting. It's not important, but it was something I noticed. I was like, it's very pretty.
Well, this movie's all about like the bigger picture, but then the individual details because they're storytellers, and when you're reading a story, it's those tiny details that make it stick with you.
Or even when she's talking about her husband and you see the pregnancy test.
Yeah.
But it stops at that. I assumed maybe she miscarried.
There's also a picture of like the sonogram that says the first and last picture.
Yeah.
Of
Oh,
little
okay.
Enzo.
I didn't notice that. So but she doesn't say any of that. But like you talk about, because you mentioned the details of storytelling. So like the visual storytelling is like, oh, okay, and that probably caused eventually the break. Maybe it just exacerbated the situation because she was saying that she and her husband at a certain point just lost the ability to communicate or whatever. And I thought, oh, that was an interesting detail. It's like, okay, maybe that was the straw that broke the back or something like that. And when she sees him with his other partner and whatever, I also like the detail of like everything being in boxes.
Yeah.
Such a horror movie moment.
She loves them.
She like compartmentalizes her life to a certain extent.
Yeah, I was mentioning that to you earlier, where she's compartmentalized her life to the point where she's convinced herself she is okay, that she is lonely, and she has nothing but her work, and she is satisfied with that. Like, damn.
Which is what a lot of people do. I think if you convince yourself long enough, you create that narrative for yourself. You buy into
get
it.
A dog.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I also got the feeling. I don't know if this was intentional. That was she on the spectrum? Did she have something, or it was just?
I didn't do that.
Maybe I was reading into it too much.
No, I don't think so, because she mentions that this is just how my brain works.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have trouble emoting or understanding emotions or recognizing them, and that is definitely something that would suggest,
Which is sad too, because you listen to people where it's like it can be isolating because you can't necessarily read the social cues, so it isolates you even more. And I'm always like interested in people where like they talk about almost being trapped in their own minds and how isolating that can be. So like when she was talking about herself, even her childhood, how like, oh, I was perfectly okay being on my own. But the fact that she had to invent a friend means no, she wasn't. But she couldn't communicate, or like the other kids, like at a certain point just gave up because she was too weird. So she created her own friend. It is very heartbreaking, but it indicates that she craved connection. She just couldn't find a way to make those connections.
Well, the fact that she makes the wish that she makes.
That is her
signifies that
heart's
she craves
desire. She craves
connection.
because, like, as silly as it sounds, especially me loving romance, is you can't live without love in your life, whether it's from a pet or sibling or whatever, friends.
Yeah.
It's something we all crave.
Yeah. I also like talking about color. When you see her in the airport, how she stands out. I mean, everyone else is in color, but the color of her outfit, like just, I'm sure it wasn't, I'm guessing it was intentional, but it's just a scene, it's from like an aerial shot, and you see her walking and she's surrounded, but she stands out so much.
Yeah.
With the color.
Miller, especially since like his sort of comeback with Fury Road, is very into extreme colors and sort of using that as, to guide your eye. Like some of the stuff in Fury Road is crazy how he choreographs action scenes because it flows so perfectly. Here he applies it on a much more like smaller scale level, but it's the same technique.
Can we talk about the little, I guess it was a djinn or entity?
The airport djinn.
Yeah, it's so cute. Just like, I forgot what he says to her.
He's trying to get her to go with him.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like he was trying to trick her.
Well,
I don't
there
know.
are
Like, I felt
different
like that
types
was
of
the
Jinn.
moment when the other world noticed her, and like his contact is what opened that door. That's how I kind of read it. Like, well, you've been reading
Well-
about like we've noticed you too, and he touches her, and I thought that opens up the contact for her to be able to see
That's
other
what
things.
I thought too, but then there's that line where she's talking to her colleague about, well, my imagination lately has just
Oh,
been
yes.
getting out of control.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder, just through being a narratologist and going through all of these stories, that she's peeked behind the curtain without realizing it,
Oh,
and
okay.
they've peeked back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they're like keeping tabs on her. And I mean,
I would love
just-
that though.
it's very
Like
cool.
honestly, I would love for that curtain to be drawn back, and I just
Nah,
need like other
I'm
people.
good.
I would love that.
I don't know.
I want to meet a djinn who has thousands of years worth of history, and he just like sit him down, have a cup of coffee. Like I don't know, that would just be so fascinating to me.
But once it's open, you can't close it.
Well, as long as it's like a good one, like a good kind of door, like not like creepy door, like it's like not insidious kind of creepy door.
I feel like it's like a double-edged sword, though. Like, yeah, I would love to do that, but at the same time, will I ever be satisfied again? Now that I know what is out there.
How do you hold a double-edged sword?
By the hilt.
Yeah? Is there
It's-
something in the middle then?
No, there's double edges, and then there's a hilt.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there definitely are the blades where like they're the things in the middle.
So it
and
doesn't
it's-
look like a lightsaber.
No.
No.
No, it's not Darth Maul.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
No,
a
no,
hilt
double
on
edge
the-
just means like
Both
it's a
sides.
regular sword. It's just sharp on both sides.
Yeah.
On the blade.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought there were just two.
No.
swords.
No, like you know how like on a scimitar it's like only one side sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's be both sides. Yeah.
Oh. Double-edged sword's good, though, because you want to be able to cut people in both ways, right?
Well, that's why it's a metaphor, because, like, yeah,
Let's dive into this a little.
because it would be great, but you're still, it's a double-edged sword, so it's sharp on both sides.
Think of it in
So
a
in
combat
a-
situation.
Are most swords not sharp on both sides?
I think it depends.
depends.
But yeah, there's some that aren't.
Interesting.
Or like, you know, a rapier is only sharp at the end.
Interesting. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Because if the blade is turned on you, like if your opponent is like the blade can cut into you if it's double.
Interesting.
So it's both good and bad as
A
well.
Yeah.
katana is only sharp on
That's
one
right.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Continue.
But yeah, that's my point, though, is if you were to peek behind the curtain, you would have that wonderful conversation or learn all of these things and gain this valuable knowledge, but would you ever be satisfied with your reality again? No, because you know that there is something else out there. There's more out there that maybe you can't even access, so that on top of it, no.
She dealt with it pretty good.
She
Yeah.
did, but she got like a gin boyfriend out of it. Like,
Who's Idris Elba?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not bad.
Yeah.
But also, you know, she also like when he first appears, she also deals with that very well.
She handles it
Her
really.
emotional intelligence is very high.
I just,
I really like just like how immediately curious he is about
Yeah.
everything. Like
Yeah.
he's so into humanity.
Yeah.
And, like I don't know, something about that it felt very just cool and
Yeah.
moving.
So did anyone, like, when she's trying to find the words to explain things, go back to the Khal Drogo scene with Daenerys when she's explaining what a throne is, and they don't have a throne in, like, the language, so she says chair or whatever? No? Just me? Okay, never mind.
I did not. I wasn't thinking that.
Okay, fine. Never mind. It was just me. Forget about it. Move on. That's what I just thought of. It just came into my head when she's trying to explain electromagnetic waves and the TV to him using Greek. Okay, never mind. It was just me, apparently.
I like that scene a lot, though, and I like
Yeah.
that he uses, because he is electromagnetic and has all of these sounds around him, he's able to use them to quickly learn English.
Did you get Thundercloud vibes, too, from the way he's designed? Like the bottom part, his coloring? Thunder?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta
It just took me a second.
I know, I gotta like transition
But
better
I-
into my thoughts.
I love his design. Like, I like what makes him stand out. And honestly, so you've all played D&D. One of my favorite, like, species to be in D&D. I like to be a tiefling. And you
Okay.
need two things about you that sets you apart. So, like, horns and a tail and, like, colorful skin. And I like that it's kind of the Jin's requirements is they need something about them
Yeah.
sets them apart. And I like that it's his ears and his, like, rainbow legs.
Yeah, he looked like it's scales.
It was very cool.
I liked how big he was when he first got out
Yes.
of the bottle. Like,
Yeah, I love his hands. Like, as weird as it sounds, like one of them is gold and one of them
Yeah.
is red.
Oh, I loved that. I love like it almost looked like he's like smeared with paint. It's very
Yeah,
pretty.
really.
It also reminded me of like henna.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Like henna paint. It was I like that too. The amount of color and the amount of detail that well, at least I was trying to really like capture because everything is, and I wonder if there's significance or it was just that looks cool. I mean, I doubt it. I think everything has, but
Everything has significance.
Yeah.
in this
I
movie,
definitely
and I
loved
appreciate it.
I love that. At first, I didn't even notice the Queen of Sheba's hair on her legs the first time you see her, because someone commented that allegedly King Solomon commented on her hair legs as being unfeminine when he
Yeah.
first saw her, or whatever. But I didn't even like notice the hair on her legs. First of all, she's so beautiful. I was not even paying it. Like I was just like
Wasn't looking.
Yeah, exactly.
everything was on point. And then you see the hair. I'm like, oh, that's good. You know, because it almost could have been a part of the outfit. You
Yeah.
know, when you see like Zulu warriors, like the part of their outfits that like covers their calves. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's referred to. That's what it kind of reminded me of. So I was like, oh, that is so cool. But I was like, oh, it's her hair. And then she's putting the oil, and he's trying to like. I was like,
Wax.
oh, girl, you're
wax.
wax is like, you're losing yourself for that. I was like, don't do it. And I was like,
Like it was. Yeah, it was.
I'm
Is
still
he?
Devastating.
kinda-
Is Solomon? So was he
Solomon's
really?
kind of
Was he
in this
being-
film.
was he being
He wanted- yes, he knew she was taken, or that she was.
But she
Puts him in a
she went,
bottle.
She went willingly.
I think she was. He worked
And
some.
I think she enjoyed what she got. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I didn't get that from that scene.
I
think
did. I did get that from that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was pretty happy with Solomon, but
Well, that's it, because she
Yeah.
didn't actually care about.
I know that's
Jin.
the
Like,
sad
that's-
part too.
She.
And then
We
it's-
get that close up of her after he puts him in the bottle and throws him out the window, and
I thought
she's
she was
like,
crying.
no, she's not. She's very
Yeah,
kind
wishful
of
thinking.
stoic about it. A very
Yeah,
just like
that's a good
neutral
word
face.
for it,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where she's like, well,
Yeah,
that
I
kind
mean,
of sucks,
Solomon
but it is
does
what it
know
is.
what women want.
Yeah, he does.
I
Exactly.
was
That's
really
what.
wishing they would say it. I was like, I wonder what they think. Like, let's just tell me,
Nope.
please.
Nope.
Solomon knows though.
What do women want?
It is though. I really
Can
like
we
the
ask you
scene where
guys
they're
what
waxing
do
her
women
legs because it's like the end of
Yeah,
who she is. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I keep bringing up Mad Max, but I just there's a lot in common with how he approaches myth and legend and history
Yeah.
in both. Like
Yeah.
in Mad Max, there's these
Mm-hmm.
people called history men, and they
Yeah.
just have words written literally like everywhere on their bodies, on their clothes, and they
That's
can
very
examine
cool.
it and tell
Yeah.
people what the world was like before the
Yeah.
nukes. Like,
Can I ask
like
a question?
that.
'Cause
Yeah.
why are the people really, really pale? Like I watched the Colt.
They're
It's not a
sick.
car chase.
oh yeah, they live underground more or less, and
Okay,
they're
and they're
sickly,
not.
like-
This may sound dumb because at first I realized afterwards that there is no gasoline in this world.
No,
or-
it's, it's gasoline,
yeah, it's
but
different.
it's a resource they fight over constantly. Like,
Okay, because isn't there a scene where someone's like chugging it down, like drinking it? And I thought it was like maybe that's why you people are a little
he's-
off.
I think he's probably chugging it down to spit it so that he can get like the flames in the car to go.
Oh,
but yeah,
fine,
the,
all right,
the
'cause-
pale
That was my explanation.
the pale dudes are called war boys, and they're all like deeply anemic.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
in
okay.
Fury Road early on, like one of them is using Max as a blood bag,
Yeah.
quite literally.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You're
Yeah.
gonna love Fury Road.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I don't. Okay.
You don't see. It's not like
No,
No, because I remember what the leader looks like with his mask
Immortan
thing,
Joe.
and I think that is legitimately terrifying. Okay, but I'll stop. Okay, on the side, I just was curious about the choice.
But no, the way he builds these worlds is very meticulous.
Yeah.
And like,
It is.
Yeah.
I really appreciated it. That's what kept me so absorbed, is the tiny details and the care and attention that was put into this.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Joe before, the thing for me that was really captivating was just visually, it was
beautiful.
captivating. Which is really goes back to kind of Mad Max and everything like that too, because just how visually captivating those movies are. So Miller's definitely got like colors are more vibrant and everything just looks very good. And he's actually, I know that there's some CGI in this and everything like that, but most of it's probably, not the magical stuff obviously, but the real stuff is probably actually shot and everything like that. Mad Max, a lot of the stuff that's happening in it is actually shot. Like it's wild.
Not just CGI. Yeah.
I also like the scene where we get to the second story about the slave girl, and when he's talking about so the first guy who finds his bottle, he's literally embedded in a skull, and he gets removed from the skull, and then he gets stuck in a wall, and it's almost like whether it's fate, because the fact that the girl climbing the wall to see the guy, basically whether things are meant to
and
be.
I do like that he talks about it, and he's like, I don't really know what happened, but I'd like to pretend it's this.
Yeah, but also it's like not mundane, but I just liked. He goes, "Oh yeah, he was in a skull. Then he became like mortar for the wall, and then he was basically just like all these different things that culminate in eventually the slave girl finding him is just really interesting." Yeah, and I just like him. Like I felt his desperation when he's trying to communicate with the son who has Jinn ancestry.
Which, explain that to me. If they can't reproduce,
Murad didn't have children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why she had Ibrahim in the fur room.
That's
why.
Years as he could.
Oh, I thought it was a way to protect, which maybe it is a way to
that
protect
as
it.
well.
He was trying
but
to have heirs, but did he ever succeed? Is the thing.
I don't know.
Exactly.
But and I guess
goopy
Murad's sterile, so it's
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I
really.
I know you.
Trying, though. Give it a shot, Murad.
He was more interested in his bloodlust instead.
I also saw it as like a tragic example of the effects of war.
Yeah.
Because he may have started off relatively normal, and then it's like just went downhill from there, and just no one knew how to handle his madness except for the storyteller.
Yeah.
Which that was tragic too. Like your one friend, the one who truly gets you, and then he just dies.
Well, he was an old man.
Yeah. Well, that too, but I was like, I didn't expect he was going to live forever, but it was just so sad.
I like how angry he got at the mime storyteller.
Oh,
yeah.
No offense to mimes. I would be annoyed too. But, and I also like how he mentions, like, he doesn't say he was an alcoholic. Like, the way he meant, like, he died from, like, alcohol poisoning, but the way the Jinn says it, it's almost, like, more poetic. Like, what did he say? Like, I like the line that he used where it's like,
he drank himself to permanent sleep, something like that.
Something like that. It's like, he was an alcoholic, and he but I just like the line.
His mother made him that way too, though, because she was feeding him alcohol to keep him drunk so he wouldn't murder people.
I know, like what a way to
so
avoid
many
your
details.
problems.
Sorry, I just love the attention to detail.
But it's like the perfect example of avoiding your problems at all costs. So it's like, and also Ibrahim, like he didn't really seem all that.
I can't.
I know, like I'm kind of getting gross thinking about it, but like he almost seemed like he was not interested, which is the weird part. And then when he started seeing the women, it's like, I don't know.
You get why he wasn't. Yeah.
I think he was pretty interested.
No, yeah.
No, what I meant obviously when he was in the room and prior to being shoved into the room, like it's like he looked really scared. Like she just like shoves him into a. That's so gross. Okay, never mind.
Into his
fur-lined room.
Fur-lined prison.
Yeah, and I also thought it was that so he wouldn't hurt himself. Like, my mind went in a completely different direction with why it was fur-lined. Because, like a padded cell.
No, I think it's just to...
Okay.
Yeah, for...
Sorry.
It's just another surface for you to be against.
Enough.
My mind went so different. I was like, it's padded.
The man in his goopy hands.
On that note, what are we rating this out of?
We have to genie bottles probably.
Yeah.
I like it.
How many genies in a bottle?
I'm going 5 out of 5 genie bottles. I was really pleasantly surprised with this. I feel like when it came out, I had heard about it, but I don't know if the marketing just wasn't good for it, or maybe it just got lost in the COVID shuffle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like looking at the cover, like the poster for this, it's a movie I never would watch on my own. So I was very pleasantly surprised and very much enjoyed it.
I'm also giving it 5 out of 5 genie bottles. I loved it. I was also pleasantly surprised. I have never heard of this movie and definitely got lost in the COVID shuffle for me. But I loved it. I loved the sweet and like tender moments at the end where they are together and living in her townhouse in London. But I loved the fantastical and that it's grounded in history. But it's just the aesthetics were stunning and the attention to detail really is what sold me.
I'd also give it 5 out of 5. This is a film where I definitely saw the trailer and it intrigued me, but I think I would have never watched it if it weren't, for the podcast. But yeah, I love the colors.
That's what the podcast does?
Yes.
Brings people together?
Yeah, like I said, I love the detail. I love the colors. I love the world building. Yeah, it's every fantastical moment. I love the the real also world issues that it addresses, even though it's fantastical. Yeah, so 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hitting this with 4.5. I love this
Yeah.
movie. This rolled. Yeah, I'm very glad I picked this sort of on a whim. Yeah, I'm very glad everybody loved it.
Yeah, it is great rewatchability too.
Yeah, no, I'd be very happy to see this again down the line
Yeah.
and see how it plays differently. Like
Yeah.
knowing.
It was so good. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, good pick.
Could we put the goopy hand image at one point? Or that would be too much.
I mean, we talk about it enough.
That.
Why not if we had to see it?
We want people to watch the movie.
Okay.
Don't be grossed out.
But I did the same thing after she kissed. I was like, ew, she kissed it.
I think Percy left the room.
Oh.
Because I was freaking out. He got off the couch and left. If it's enough to gross out my dog.
Well, have a good one, folks, and we'll see you next time with Pan's Labyrinth.